Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh,
Today we're going to be looking at something I think we've all thought about from time to time, those subtle signs of attraction, especially from women.
mm-hmm.
I found this really interesting article that
Yes.
breaks down a lot of these signs,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to have our expert here today
Yeah.
to help us figure out what they really mean.
Yeah.
So are you ready to decode this secret language?
Let's do it.
Okay, great. So let's just jump right in with something that I bet a lot of people listening have experienced.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed that sometimes a woman will be really talkative and outgoing with everyone else, but then when she's around you, she gets really quiet?
Yeah.
Like my first thought would be, oh, okay, she's not interested.
Right.
But this article is saying that maybe it's actually the opposite. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny because it is one of those things that seems counterintuitive, but when you really break it down, it makes sense. That shift to being quieter could actually be a sign of nerves. Stemming from attraction, like when someone starts to find you attractive, all of a sudden your opinion matters more, and so they become more self-conscious,
Yeah.
worried about saying the wrong thing.
So it's like they're overthinking it because they want to make a good impression.
Exactly. Yeah, like their internal dialogue might be on overdrive, and that can lead to them being quieter than usual.
That's so interesting.
It's kind of like, think about a time when you were really into someone. Did you suddenly become like a smooth talker?
Oh, no.
Or were you a little more likely to, fumble your words a bit?
I was a mess. I was definitely fumbling.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good to know. So she's not giving us this whole, stand-up routine.
Right.
It might not be a bad thing.
Exactly. It just might mean that you've sparked her interest and she's trying to navigate those new feelings and figure out how to act.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Now, another behavior that can be easily misinterpreted is eye contact.
Oh.
Have you ever, you've probably experienced this, but that thing where they glance at you and then immediately look away?
Yes.
That can be shyness, or is she just not into it? And it could be a little of both, honestly, but prolonged eye contact, especially when there's that initial spark of attraction, can be very intense.
Yeah.
So looking away is a natural response. It helps manage those feelings and kind of avoid things getting too overwhelming too quickly.
That's like a check. They're just like, yep, you're still there. And then it's like, oh my God.
Right, exactly. And, the direction of the gaze can offer additional clues. A downward glance, for instance, is often associated with shyness,
Oh, okay.
which, coupled with those quick glances, could indicate attraction.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, so we got to pay attention to those glances, where they're going, how long they're lasting.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Let's move into the digital age.
Okay.
Texting.
Yes.
Oh, we all know the feeling of sending a text and then just waiting
Oh, yeah.
for that reply. But what does it really mean when she takes her time to reply?
Yeah.
Because, I'm guilty of this. I totally overthink it.
We've all been there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easy to jump to conclusions.
You, Jeff?
Assume the worst when someone isn't responding instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But before you kind of go into that anxiety spiral, consider this. What if she's taking her time because she wants to craft a thoughtful response?
So it might not be a bad thing if she's taken a while.
Exactly. It can be quite the opposite.
Okay.
The article highlights the importance of quality over speed when it comes to text replies.
Yeah.
If she's taking the time to write longer, more detailed messages,
Right.
that's a sign that she's putting genuine effort into the conversation. She could just send a quick haha or lol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But she's choosing to really engage.
Exactly. And also, we can't discount the societal pressures women face. There's still this expectation, to play it cool, not seem too eager.
Oh, yeah.
So that delayed reply might be her way of managing those expectations.
Oh, okay. So patience is key, I guess.
Patience is key.
Okay. This next one feels a bit more, I don't know,
Yeah.
I guess tricky. So what happens when you mention other women and her mood noticeably changes? Is that a red flag? Are you reading too much into it?
This one can be subtle, but it's definitely worth paying attention to.
Okay.
That shift in mood, even if it's just a slight withdrawal or a change in her expression, could very well be a sign of jealousy.
Okay.
However, she might not be comfortable expressing those feelings openly.
So instead of being like, hey, I don't really like that you're talking about this other woman,
Right.
she might just kind of internalize it.
Exactly. It's a classic case of trying to mask a feeling that might be seen as, I don't know, uncool or Too much.
Yeah.
You know, the article even mentioned that some women might subtly try to put down your exes in these situations.
Interesting.
Almost like they're trying to position themselves as the better option.
So there's this competitive edge, like she wants to be the best choice. Wow. Okay. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how about the voice?
Okay.
Have you ever noticed how a woman's voice will change when she's talking to someone she likes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a fascinating phenomenon.
Yeah.
And, you know, it often happens subconsciously.
Oh, wow.
Our voices naturally reflect our emotions, and attraction can definitely influence the tone, pitch, and even the cadence of our speech.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like that really like bubbly, excited tone,
Yeah.
but then other times it's almost softer and more feminine.
Right.
It's so interesting.
And, you know, both are valid, and the specific shift can really depend on the woman and the context of the interaction. But that change in her voice is definitely a clue that she's paying attention to you and that you've sparked her interest. What's really interesting is that there might be a potential biological component to this as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So some research suggests that when women are attracted to someone, their vocal cords actually become more relaxed, leading to a slightly lower, more melodious tone. And it's thought to be an evolutionary adaptation that subconsciously signals receptivity.
Wow. So it's not just her like trying to change her voice.
Right.
It's actually her body responding to those feelings.
Exactly. It's another example of how these subtle signs often stem from a complex interplay of biology and social conditioning.
That's amazing. Okay. This is making me rethink so many interactions I've had. All right. Now for something that's going to get some laughs, I think. What about laughter?
Okay.
We've all been on the receiving end of pity laughs, right? But what about when she seems to genuinely find you hilarious?
Yeah.
Is there something different about that laughter when there's attraction?
Yeah.
Or am I just making that up?
No, you're definitely onto something there.
Okay.
It's not just in your head. Studies have actually shown that women tend to find men they're attracted to funnier.
So it's not that my jokes are getting better, it's just she's seeing me through a different lens.
Exactly. Attraction has a way of enhancing our perception of someone's positive qualities, and humor is no exception.
I like that. I'll take it.
It's like she's primed to find you amusing
Yeah.
because of that underlying attraction.
Okay, well that makes me feel good because
Yeah.
laughter is such a powerful way to connect too. It creates that sense of shared enjoyment.
Absolutely. And on a deeper level, you know, laughter is often associated with intelligence
Yeah.
and social intelligence in particular.
Oh, okay.
So her finding you funny could also be a subconscious sign that she sees you as quick-witted and engaging.
Okay, so we're getting deep here. Okay. Let's move on to something all about the effort. Appearance.
Okay.
So we all know that first impressions matter, right?
Yeah.
But what about when she's consistently putting in extra effort around you specifically?
That's a great point, and it's a sign that shouldn't be overlooked.
Okay.
You know, she's always dressing up, doing her hair, and generally making sure she looks her best when she knows she'll be seeing you. It means that she cares about your opinion and she wants to impress you.
So going beyond just generally wanting to look good, she's doing it for you.
Exactly. And you know, it's not always about being dressed to the nines either. Sometimes the most telling signs are the subtle ones.
Okay.
You know, pay attention to whether she's wearing your favorite color, using a particular perfume you like, or even just styling her hair in a way she knows you find attractive.
It's all those little personalized touches.
Exactly. And those little details speak volumes.
It's almost like a secret language in itself.
It is. And you know, the effort she puts in can often be a reflection of how much she values your attention and approval.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's get into something, I guess, a little more physical. Let's talk about touch.
Okay.
We all know it's a powerful form of communication. But how do we know if touch is a sign of attraction, especially when it's coming from a woman? Because I feel like there's so much nuance there. What are we looking for?
Well, you know, reciprocation is key.
Okay.
If you find yourself in a situation where, you know, you lightly touch her arm during a conversation and she doesn't pull away, that's a good sign.
Okay, cool.
And even better, if she reciprocates the touch, you know, that's an even stronger indicator of comfort and potentially attraction.
So she's comfortable with it and maybe even mirroring it.
Exactly.
But what if she's not initiating the touch?
That's a great question. And, you know, it's important to remember that a lot of women, you know, they're hesitant to make the first move, especially in the early stages of attraction.
Right.
So don't necessarily wait for her to initiate.
Okay.
Instead, focus on her response to your touch.
Got it. Okay. So we're looking for that green light, like that she's okay with it.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. All right. This last one is kind of like having your own personal spy network. Her friends. We all know that, women tell their friends everything.
Of course.
But what does it mean when her friends suddenly seem interested in you?
Right.
Are they just being friendly, or is there something more there?
It's definitely worth paying attention to.
Okay.
If her friends are suddenly like popping up in conversations, asking you questions, or generally just showing an interest in you, it's a good sign that she's been talking about you.
Okay.
And, it's likely not just casual conversation.
So they're not just randomly there?
No. It's often a coordinated effort.
Oh, wow.
Think of it as a vetting process.
Oh, okay.
She's interested enough in you to involve her inner circle. They're checking you out,
Oh, wow.
gauging your interests, and maybe even playing matchmaker a little bit.
That's so interesting. So her friends are like an extension of her own curiosity.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
This is all starting to make so much sense. It's like we're putting together a puzzle.
Yeah.
And speaking of putting things together, we actually have some really interesting real-life examples to talk about.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I know. I'm really excited to get into them, so stay tuned.
Awesome.
Okay, so we've been talking about all these different signs, but sometimes it's easier to really understand them
Yeah.
when you see, like an actual example of it happening.
Right.
So do you have any, scenarios that could really highlight some of these cues we've been talking about?
Yeah, totally. Imagine you're at a party and there's this woman that you're drawn to, and you notice she keeps glancing your way from across the room.
Oh, yeah.
But then every time you, try to make eye contact, she quickly looks away.
Yep, been there.
Yeah, it's like that little cat and mouse game.
Totally.
But then, let's say you find yourselves chatting later on in the evening.
Okay.
And she's laughing at all your jokes. Even the ones that you're like, okay, that wasn't that funny.
They weren't that good.
Right, exactly.
But she's totally into it.
Yeah. And it goes back to that idea that attraction can kind of enhance our perception of someone's positive qualities. So, she's seeing you through those rose-colored glasses, so to speak.
I like it.
And then maybe as you were talking, you notice she's subtly touching your arm. Her body language is open. She's leaning in when you speak.
Oh, now we're talking.
And then to top it all off, you overhear her friends kind of whispering about you, giving her those encouraging looks.
Ooh, they're in on it.
They are totally in on it. So that's a good sign that she's at least shared her interest with them.
Yeah. Okay, at that point, I think you're good to go.
I think so too.
But, let's flip the script a little bit.
Okay.
Imagine that you're texting a woman you're interested in, and she's taking a while to reply.
Yeah, the waiting game.
Ugh, the worst. So much anxiety.
So much anxiety.
But then when she finally does reply, her messages are really well thought out.
Right.
She's asking questions. She seems to be genuinely interested in getting to know you.
Yeah, and that completely changes the dynamic, right?
Totally.
Because it shows that she's not just sending off a quick reply just because she feels obligated.
Right.
She's actually putting in the effort.
She wants to have a conversation.
Exactly, yeah.
It's all about the quality, not just the speed.
Exactly.
Okay, so then imagine that you mentioned you're going out with friends this weekend.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, this little shift in her tone. She gets quieter. Maybe she asks who you're going with.
Oh.
A little jealousy, maybe?
Maybe a little,
Yeah.
even if she doesn't come right out and say it, that change in her demeanor suggests that she cares about who you're spending time with.
Okay, so even in, those casual conversations, whether it's in person or through text,
Right.
these little things can tell us a lot.
Absolutely.
It's all about reading between the lines.
Exactly.
I think it's interesting that we've been focusing on these signs from women,
Yeah.
but I feel like these dynamics can apply to, anyone, right?
For sure.
It's not limited to just one gender.
No, not at all.
Men can be just as subtle in how they show their interest, maybe even more so.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They might get quiet around someone they like,
Mm-hmm.
put in extra effort with their appearance,
Yeah,
or find ways to subtly touch the person they're attracted to.
it's all part of that same, dance of attraction.
Exactly.
So I guess anyone who's ever, felt those butterflies around someone they're into can probably relate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a universal experience.
Yeah.
And I think understanding these dynamics can really help us all navigate those early stages of attraction with more confidence and awareness.
Yeah, you're leveling up your social skills.
Exactly, yeah.
Becoming more aware.
Totally.
But at the same time, these signs can be so subtle.
Right.
It's easy to overthink things.
Yes, very true.
So how do we, like, approach this whole thing without driving ourselves crazy?
Right. That's such an important question because you don't want to be analyzing every single interaction.
Right.
The key is to find that balance between observation and intuition.
So it's not just like a checklist of signs.
No, not at all.
There's a feeling to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If you have a strong sense that someone is interested, even if you can't quite put your finger on why, don't dismiss that intuition.
It's like you just know.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the other hand, if you're like constantly overanalyzing everything,
Right.
you're going to miss out on the fun of just, getting to know someone.
Exactly.
Okay, so find that balance.
Find that balance.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah. Trust your gut.
Okay, now I know some people might be thinking, oh, okay, this is all interesting.
Yeah.
But like, how does this actually help me?
Right. That's a fair question.
Yeah.
I think the real value in understanding these subtle signs is that it can help you approach dating and relationships with more confidence and awareness.
So it's not just about figuring out if someone likes you. It's about like improving your social skills overall.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about becoming a better decoder of human behavior.
Right.
Which can benefit you in all sorts of interactions, not just romantic ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, it's like you're not just learning about dating, you're learning about how to better understand people in general.
Yeah, I like that.
And, with that deeper understanding, you might even start to notice these subtle signs in your own interactions.
Oh, that's interesting.
Maybe you'll realize that you've been sending out some of these signals without even realizing it.
Wow.
It's like you're becoming aware of your own subtle language of attraction.
That's a cool way to think about it.
And, that awareness can be incredibly empowering. It allows you to be more intentional in your interactions and to really express your interest in a way that feels authentic to you.
It's all about that self-awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah, and being more in tune with like what you're putting out there.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And who knows, maybe this deeper understanding will help you spot a connection that you might have otherwise missed.
Right.
Or give you the confidence to, take a chance and see where things go.
I love that. That's so insightful. It's like we've unlocked this secret code to understanding each other.
Exactly.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up. Wow. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, huh?
We really have. It's been fascinating.
It feels like we've really uncovered some valuable insights about, these subtle signs of attraction.
I think so too. And what I think is so interesting is that, like, these signs, they're not always about those big, obvious gestures.
Right. It's not always fireworks and grand declarations of love.
Exactly. It's more about those smaller, more nuanced things, those subconscious behaviors, the underlying motivations. It's in those quieter moments that we can sometimes see, like, what's really going on?
It's about those subtle cues, And I think the most important thing we've learned is that, like, by understanding these signs, you can really start to see past, like, the surface level.
Yeah, totally.
And get a better sense of how someone is really feeling about you.
It's like learning to read between the lines, right? Not just in dating, but in all your relationships.
Exactly. It's about like leveling up your emotional intelligence, becoming more aware of the unspoken language that's always there,
Yeah, I love that. It's like we're all secret agents learning to decode this, like secret code.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, is there one piece of advice you would give to our listeners who are now, equipped with all this knowledge?
I think the most important thing to remember is that, there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to figuring out if someone is attracted to you.
Right, because everyone expresses themselves so differently.
Exactly. So pay attention, look for those patterns we've been talking about, but don't forget to trust your intuition too.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. If something feels right, or even if something feels off, don't ignore that feeling.
Yeah, you just know sometimes.
Exactly. And I think, like, the most rewarding part of all of this is, by becoming more aware of these signs, we open ourselves up to those deeper connections.
Because you never know what you might find.
Right. It's about those special moments of connection, those sparks of recognition. That's what makes life and relationships so exciting.
Beautifully said. Well, that brings our deep dive to an end. Thank you so much to our expert for sharing your insights with us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And to all our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of subtle signs of attraction. Until next time, stay curious and keep those eyes peeled.